This video is going to talk to you about MLA citations and using transitional phrases. MLA stands for the Modern Language Association. They make the rules about how to cite evidence properly so that you do not get in trouble for plagiarism, which is copying someone else's work. We need to give credit to the original source in a way that makes sense. This is a skill you are going to be expected to use in 8th grade, high school, and college. So we're going to start practicing it now so that we become experts before we even have to do that. This is important for us right now because on your rubric in the evidence and commentary section, it says evidence is cited with the page number in parentheses at the end, which is the MLA way to cite your evidence. Second, organization and style on the rubric calls for sophisticated language and use of transition words. So we want to focus a little bit on this so that when we hand in our essay, we are sure that our body paragraphs do these two things. Remember, you are writing two races paragraphs, one on one story and one on the other. Both paragraphs should answer the question of how the literary element you've chosen enhances the meaning of the text. Many times when kids are young, they learn how to introduce evidence in a more juvenile way. For instance, on page 14, the text says. This becomes more juvenile because now we want to move to putting the evidence page number at the end rather than in the beginning. So we're going to move away from saying in paragraph 12, it says, and then giving the quote. Instead, we're going to try to introduce the quoted and commentary pieces by some of these transition words you see on the right-hand side. There are basic ones like for example, in addition to, and furthermore. But you can enhance that by saying things like the author illustrates, or according to the text, or in comparison, or on the other hand, or for this reason. This evidence suggests or shows. To illustrate this concept, the author says, this shows that. Another example is, for instance. And when you're explaining your evidence, try to vary yourself. Instead of keep saying this shows, try some things like this demonstrates, or this piece of evidence conveys. And vary what you do so that you're not repeating yourself over and over again. So this is a way to introduce your quotes and your commentary with transitional phrases that make your writing more sophisticated. Now let's talk about citing your evidence. What does it mean to cite your evidence? This poster is hanging above Ms. Reale's desk, so if you ever need it again, it's up there for you to look at. But first, use a transitional phrase to introduce your evidence. Here's my transitional phrase. In the text, it says, and then I put a comma. The next step is to copy the quote directly from the text, unless you're paraphrasing. Remember, paraphrasing has to be very specific. After I close the quotation mark, in parentheses at the end, I put the page number. Then, I put the period to close out the sentence. After I do this, I move on to my commentary. So in everyone's paragraph, I should see the transitional phrase introducing the evidence, specific, valid, appropriate text evidence that's quoted or paraphrased, and then the page number in parentheses, followed by a period after each piece of evidence. This is what MLA citations require. We talked about varying your transitions. This is another list of what you can use to vary your transitions. I will also post in Schoology a document where you can find transitional phrases that will be very helpful to use to make sure you're varying your transitions. So let's take a look at this paragraph and see how I've used transition words and I've used MLA citations. Eve Bunting uses symbolism in riding the tiger to enhance the meaning of the text. These symbols work together to create a deeper meaning and create interest. One powerful symbol in this text in the story is the tiger's claw, which symbolizes danger. According to the text, I heard the screech of something sharp digging into and saw where he raked the paint off the van with his open claws. Parentheses, 24, period. This illuminates how dangerous the tiger and his claws are. They symbolize the potential dangers to Daniel that the tiger represents. The reader is left wondering what might happen to Daniel if he goes against the tiger, which makes the reader more interested. In addition, Ferdy is another powerful symbol. He symbolizes the choices that Daniel and all kids have instead of joining gangs. When the tiger refers to Ferdy as giving kids options, Daniel conveys that the tiger said options as if it was the dumbest word that ever was. 21, in parentheses, period. This highlights how the tiger wants to keep Daniel to himself. He doesn't want Daniel to have options and choices. This enhances the story because Ferdy represents more than a boy playing basketball, which adds deeper meaning. Both of these symbols work to add deeper meaning to the text. When you look at my paragraph, you see underlined and in text red my transitional phrases and transition words. In bolded in yellow, you see my MLA citation. It's also important to notice that in this paragraph, I never said the words I, me, or my, referring to my ideas or my writing. Instead, I used the phrase the reader. This is something that you want to try to do as well. So here are some final tips. Like I just said, avoid using I, me, and my. You are the author. We already know that. Avoid using pronouns and say the reader. So it applies to everyone who reads your essay, not just to you. Avoid saying in paragraph 5 it said. It's more sophisticated to use page numbers and proper MLA citations with the page number in parentheses at the end of the evidence, like we talked about. And finally, avoid starting a sentence with the direct quote. Instead, use a transition word or phrase to introduce it. Example, in the text, the author states, comma, and then you give your evidence. Use this information to help you go back to your body paragraph 1 and make sure you have done these things. And then when you're writing body paragraph 2, apply these tips as well.